2067 is directed by Seth Larney and stars Cody Smith McPhee. I'm very sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And Ryan Quanten. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong as well. And basically, this movie tells the story of Earth as 2067. Mankind has basically destroyed it. The only habitable place is Australia, and that's going to be destroyed any year now. So they're trying to develop these machines that produce oxygen, but they're failing. So they get this message from the future, and it's basically saying send Ethan. So they have this time machine that's built, and it says send Ethan. So I forget his last name, but Ethan is our main character. So he's kind of having these like torn decisions because he doesn't want to leave his wife, but then there might be a chance for human survival, and he has a wife who is really, really sick, so he really needs to help her out. So eventually he goes there, he goes to find the cure, but they don't know quite how to get him back yet. And they go there, and his friend also arrives there, and basically the first act sets up that he's trying to find this cure and he goes 412 years, I'm pretty sure, into the future to try and find this cure. And I'm not going to say any more than that because the rest of the two acts take some twists and turns, and I don't want to do any spoilers with this video. So there wasn't a lot of talk about this movie. I've looked up reviews. There's not many reviews on this movie. This movie is not loved by critics. It has like a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes, and IMDb is like a 5 out of 10. So that's not very good, and I was expecting way worse than what I got in this movie. I think critics are being way too harsh on this movie. It doesn't have a high budget, so you can kind of see that the special effects and everything aren't great, but the set design and everything is great. I think the set design in this movie is great. I think that when he does travel to the future and see all that greenery, and I think those shots are really good. The cinematography in this movie isn't actually that bad. I think that's all great. And the score also in this movie, it's really good. It's really good for a low-budget movie especially. It makes you feel like alive. You know, it's just like, wow. It's very interesting. I think that it's super interesting. I can't talk about it because that would give away too many spoilers, but it's super interesting, you guys. I think that like you're always trying to unravel what's happening next. Like, it's not predictable. That's one of my favorite parts about this movie, and it's not predictable. That makes it feel original and fresh, and I love that because every movie these days is getting so predictable, and you can just see where everything's going. But this movie actually has some decent twists and turns, or to the point where you can't exactly predict what's going to happen next. I also liked how throughout the movie you start off with these characters that aren't very fleshed out, but then as you go along, these two characters get fleshed out. Like, you learn about Ethan's backstory, and you learn about Jude and his backstory as well. And it's very interesting. There's an interesting conflict as well with these characters. Like, you think Jude's just like the friend, but he's much more than that in this film. And you learn that about his backstory, and there's a very interesting conflict that happens with this film. Also, the acting is a mixed aspect for me. There is some very good scenes with them. I think there are some good scenes where they do a good job, especially the guy who plays Ethan. I think he does a pretty good job for the most part of this movie. There are some scenes where he's pouting and he's really upset, and it just doesn't come off very believable, and it comes off kind of like, okay, whatever. But he does a good job throughout most of this movie. The character who plays Jude, I think he does a very good job. He doesn't have much emotional scenes because he's more so just the guy who's trying to keep Ethan calm here. He's just like that kind of character. But towards the third act, he does get more intense, and he has to kind of up his acting, and he did all right for the most part. And I think that everybody in this movie does all right, especially for a low-budget film like this. That I thought that was a pretty good aspect of this movie. And speaking of the intensity, that's great in this movie. Like, there's not really one single action sequence, but the pacing is actually good because there's intense sequences that you don't need action sequences. If you have intense sequences where you're intrigued and it kind of blows by, you know, it's like, whoa, that was cool. Going back to the interesting facts, the fact that 400 and something years later, the fact that the Earth is not just destroyed, but vegetation has just grown over it, and it's sending a message to basically everybody in the world for climate change is just stop doing what you're doing, and maybe some climate change won't happen in the future. And I thought that was another interesting aspect. It's not like, oh, world is destroyed, blah, it's done. Like, I thought that was a really cool aspect. Characterization is really good in this movie as well. I really cared about both our characters, both really interesting. Ethan, you learn a lot about his backstory and you feel for him. Jude is super interesting once you learn more about him. and you kind of feel for him too. But here's the thing: I like that Jude. It's a guy that you cannot trust in the second half of this movie. He kind of just has like he's keeping a secret. And I thought that was a really interesting aspect. Now, this movie does have some problems, I won't admit that. There's some dialogue issues, obviously. There's some acting issues that stated the CGI is not great in many scenes. The story can be clunky while interesting. You know, it's like, okay, that was cool, but like it's not explained, and some stuff can happen conveniently. But overall, guys, I think you should definitely go check out 2067. It's a really interesting take on a futuristic sci-fi film that I think it's worth your time if you go and rent it, or just if you see it on TV. I'm going to give 2067 a B+. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this review. Stay tuned for more reviews very soon. I'm going to be looking at Transformers Dark of the Moon this weekend. It's been really weird. I've been wanting to review more films and stuff, but I just never had the time, and now I finally do. And I'm glad that I'm finally back into this. I will try and get more reviews out quicker. If you like this content, this is what I do here, so hit that like and subscribe button, and stay tuned for more videos very soon. You guys are the best. Also, comment down below, what did you think of 2067 if you've seen it, or if you're looking forward to it. But anyways, have a great day, you guys.